If you've seen the headlines about this 3-story addition that is in Fairfax County, it's gone viral. I mean, here locally and around the nation. This video is not about gossip or taking sides. This is about something even more important. How do we create space for multi-generational living in a high-cost area like Fairfax County? And what does this case quietly signal about where zoning, home additions, and design may be going in the next few years here in Fairfax County? Here's the short, factual version of what happened. The Fairfax County homeowner built a large 3-story addition on the side of his home for his aging parents to be able to live with his family. The county originally issued authority for them to do this with a permit. And this was all with the understanding of the setback rules of 8 feet on each side of the home. So setback meaning that you have to have at least 8 feet of nothing being built between where your property is at the boundary where the actual building is going to take place. After construction began, neighbors started to question about this huge addition that was happening in their neighborhood. And they actually had a survey that was finding out the addition was going over 8-foot requirement. It's actually 7.3 inches from where the survey had showed that the boundary of the property line was. So Fairfax County issued a stop work order, and the homeowner has been asking the county for a deviation, saying, hey, look, we're only a few inches, like 8 or 9 inches from the setback rule. So we're just asking for a little bit of a deviation from our plans so we can continue building this building for our parents to live in. Zoning officials denied this request and basically said that this thing is 35 feet tall and it's not fitting anything close to the design and character of the homes around the neighborhood. So now the case sits on the desk of the Board for Zoning Appeals. It's tempting to reduce this story to just a matter of inches. I mean, really, it's like, come on, we're talking only 8 or 9 inches. What's the big deal? Zoning and building does not work the same way as these kind of little deviations. Once exceptions start to be made for specific homeowners doing these additions, it's a snowball. It's very hard for them to deny or change plans for another one down the road. And there's another layer to this that is not just about what you could do on your property. It's also about mass and character and type of design that you may be able to put on your property. A 60-foot long structure and over 30 feet high, that changes a lot about maybe light for your neighbors, what they can get at their property, the visual aesthetics of how it looks when you're looking out your window at your neighbor and you see a 35-foot tall building right outside. It changes airflow. It can do all of these things. So it's not just about that you are allowed to build. It means what are you building that could either encourage other type of building in the area, in the neighborhood, or does it actually change the look and the feel of that neighborhood? So while the measurement is what created this first question, it's actually about how this structure is emotionally charging and politically charging Fairfax County on how they're going to proceed with this issue. Now, this is where it gets genuinely important about how families are going to live here in Fairfax County. The conversation around multi-generational living is the talk of the town. You can discuss this with people in my generation, discussing it with their own folks, thinking about moving to the area. How do they make this happen? This is something that is on the minds of a lot of people around Northern Virginia, and especially in Fairfax County. Let's just talk about this. I mean, the things that they're discussing is that home prices are high, interest rates, although they have been coming down, thankfully, they're still on the higher side with the cost of living. Aging parents want to be in proximity to their children, and that could either be thinking about the children coming back to the area, or they are also thinking about their proximity to their churches, their hospitals, their centers of community. Also, adult children are staying home a lot longer. I'm hearing this several times throughout the last few years that children go to college and then they come back to the area because they get a job here, but they can't quite afford yet getting into the condo, the townhouse close to their work, so they stay home. And this is something that is also being considered long term. And one that is really important to think about is that families are just trying to think about how they can consolidate and save money at the same time being closer in proximity to the ones they love. In theory, building an addition or an ALU, assisted living unit, makes a lot of sense. And from a human standpoint, it makes total sense where families want to live together. And if we can do that in a way that makes sense with our zoning laws, it should truly be considered. But here's the tension that Fairfax County is dealing with, and it's truly legitimate. Neighborhoods weren't designed for large-scale, vertical additions on these suburban lots. If every homeowner maximizes height, mass, aesthetics how they want on their lot, it's going to change the character of neighborhoods all over Northern Virginia. This can affect privacy, light and airflow, perceived density, property values, buyer demand down the road. So local governments are constantly walking a tightrope on this issue. So how do we allow families flexibility to do these type of additions for their homes, for the multi-generational living, and at the same time respect that we want to see some cohesiveness in our neighborhoods that doesn't alter the overall look? This case is already prompting Fairfax County to re-examine their zoning laws. Officials have already said that if this addition had just been following the 8-foot setback, it would have gone up. So the real question is, among all of our county officials as they're considering all this, is that all we need to worry about is just how following the rules for setback? Or are there more important things to consider when homeowners are allowed to do this type of addition? How will it affect our neighborhoods as a whole? I fully expect Fairfax County to re-examine all of these this year. In fact, they're already in discussions about that, and they have goals by the end of 2026 to be able to have some authorization of hearing from the public about what this may look like in the future years. I fully expect Fairfax County to start exploring clear standards for ALUs, more structured pathways for the ALU, and possibly special use permits for larger multi-generational expansions. But the key word is structured, not case-by-case exceptions, but a defined, structured way that everyone will be able to consider putting on an ALU or an addition on their home. If you're a Fairfax County homeowner and you're thinking about this, here's your key takeaways. Surveys matter more than you think. Don't rely on architectural plans or a fence line. A few inches can become a 6-figure mistake. Number 2, design for neighbors as well as family. Additions that technically comply can still create future resale and relationship problems. Number 3, think long-term resale, not just short-term need. What works perfectly for your family today may narrow your buyer pool later. And if you're considering an addition or an ALU or a garage conversion, just be thinking about how you need to do your upfront research on this so that you have clarity and structure if you proceed with that design. If you're planning an addition, an ALU, or a garage conversion, I would be happy to be a sounding board to talk to you about what we're seeing in Fairfax County with these changes all through 2026. Until next time.